So, in our last class, quickly, just I will go through those whatever we discussed in our last class. That means LWC is nothing but a visual page, a visual screen to customize visual screen to display some of the values or some of the components, not components, some of the records values and everything that you can display in a customized view. And LWC, it's called lightning wave component, is actually built with the three parts or three parameters, sorry, not parameters, three parts. One is actually the HTML, another one is the JS or JavaScript part, and third one is the XML. Now, what is actually HTML, JS, and XML? HTML is nothing but the designer part. That means the screen designing, whatever you are designing, and in the page, what you can see, how you can see, those actually define in the HTML part. Like in a Salesforce, whenever you are just configuring any page layout is actually responsible for the view. So you are drag and drop some fields, or just putting some sections and everything and buttons also. So those part is actually responsible for view. So that means how you are configuring the page layout, accordingly you can see the record page. Same thing, this particular view part is actually controlled by the HTML. Now in page layout, whatever you are doing out of the box. But if you consider the same kind of view, if you want to build in a custom way, then actually you have to write some of the backend code. And those particular code part is control, means whatever you are writing, the view part is controlled in the HTML part. Let me share my screen quickly. Uh, just this particular one we discussed last time. So this is actually for LWC, you have to install the Visual Studio Code. I think everyone has already installed the Visual Studio Code, because any Aura, means sorry, from developer console or any from anywhere, you cannot write the LWC component. For that, you have to install the Visual Studio Code. And in whenever you are writing any LWC component or creating an LWC component, just in the Visual Studio, I think you already have everyone idea on the Visual Studio Code, correct? Santa and everyone.
No, sir. No idea.
Visual Studio Code is actually a tool where you have to install. That is a third-party tool, but you have to install and you have to install some of the extension. So, what is the extension? You just click on this particular, because whenever you are actually download this Visual Studio Code, on the left-hand side, you will get some of the options. And whenever this cloud options is come, after that you just click on this particular extensions and you have to install some of the extension. Automatically, if you search with Apex, you will automatically get some of the extensions. So this Apex interactive design and sorry, debugger, Aura components, this particular one, and also the Lightning Web component. This one you have to just click on the install. Automatically, this particular extension you will get in the Visual Studio Code. So you don't have to write any code or you have to download anything. Just you have to download the Visual Studio Code. Whenever you just install this particular extension, then what you have to do, you have to just you have to create a folder and you have to create a project. Project is nothing but actually a placeholder where actually all the components of a particular org you can see, and also any new component you can create from there. Now here, whatever I have created, you can see this is actually a project LWC training underscore 2. I have created a project, and in below this project we have some of the different components, classes, or a component, and also LWC component, everything. Now if you go there and just if you check on the LWC and right click on this particular LWC, you will get a option to create a new lightning component. Now whenever you create a lightning web component, automatically this three part will come. One is the HTML, one is the JS. So HTML is actually referred by .html, JS means JavaScript controller is actually referred by .js and XML is .xml. Now, what is actually is means uh, telling that about the .html, .js, .xml. What is those? As just as I explained, that means whenever you are designing something in the view part, that is controlled in the HTML. That means like the page layout, that drag and drop some of the fields, adding some of the buttons, adding some of the sections. Those particular design part is actually, if you want to build the same kind of view in a custom way, then you have to write the same kind of code in the HTML part. That is controlled in the .html. That means how you are actually designed, that will be mentioned in the HTML part. Now, what is JavaScript? JavaScript is actually the controller. Controller mean whatever you can see in the page, and if you want to do some actions, that means if you consider same example, that if you consider any page layout, you have some buttons. Now, whenever in the page layout you click on the buttons, after that it is doing some work or some action, inspiring some actions, or it is actually redirecting to some other pages or something like that. So whenever you are clicking the button, after that whatever the actions is doing, that is actually mentioned, or that is actually written in the JavaScript controller. That means the actions which is related to the page, this is you have to write in the JavaScript controller part, means JS part. And XML is nothing but the permissions. Permissions mean if you want to expose this particular lightning component to any particular page, and where actually you have to use this particular lightning component. Either it will be a app, you want to use it in the app page or record page or home page, that you have to mention in the XML part. By default, whenever you create any new lightning component, this is exposed part automatically it will mark as false. That means you have created a lightning web component, but it is not exposed to any kind of org. That means you cannot use anywhere. First of all, you have to make this false as true. Then actually this lightning component will be available for use any particular org. Now you have to mention that where the target means where actually you have to use this particular lightning component, or you can use. So I have mentioned here three target. That means this particular lightning web component called demo LWC, I can add any kind of app page, I can add any kind of record page, I can add any kind of home page. Now home page means it's nothing but, if I go to the Salesforce, this is the home page. Now app page means this is because every app page means if you create any app there, actually you can, as a utility bar, you can add this lightning web component. If you just mention this particular not annotation, if you mention this particular target, also any kind of record, any kind of, let's say it's a contact account record, in the account record, if I want to append this particular LWC screen, then also I can do, because as I mentioned the target as record page also. Okay, if I don't mention this target as record page or home page, because if I just remove this particular two line, then only in the app page I can use, and record page and home page if I search, then also I will not get this particular component. So that's why we are mentioning that where actually we have to use this particular web component, and also we are giving the permissions that okay, we can use this particular web component for a particular org by exposing it. Clear, Shanta?
Yes,
Because
sir.
I'm just covering a overview, because detail you can see from the last session video. So the access you can ask Shobhanjita. I think Shobhanjita can share the access for that.
Okay, sir.
Uh, so HTML, JS, and XML clear. HTML is actually nothing but the view. JS is actually nothing but the controller. That means how actually you do the actions, or write the actions. And XML is nothing but the permissions, means where how means if you want to expose this particular component, or if you means where actually you want to use this component, those particular control written in the you can say XML part. Now anyone have any questions from the last sessions on the understanding? Because if you don't understand the last sessions, then we cannot continue today. So just ask any questions if anyone have. So I think everyone understood the last sessions. Okay, let me continue with the today's. I mean, start with the today's session. So today, last sessions, whatever we discussed, we just showcase you a simple LWC screen. How to you have to write a LWC component. Now there in the LWC, same like in the Aura component or Visual Force page, you can call the Apex class. That means if you want to call or write any kind of actions in the Apex class, and if you want to call the Apex class, how you can call. So that actually today I will discuss. Now this is a sample LWC component I have already written. Now what I have written, I am explaining one by one. First of all, whenever you are writing any Apex class for any LWC component, for, remember that any of the method, if you're writing, just mention the annotation called @aura enable always on the top of that method, not the class, because these annotations will be at the top of the method, which method you want to use in the Lightning Web component. So this is my Apex class. It can be with sharing or without sharing, whatever you want. But this method I have used in the Lightning Web component. So that's why I given a annotations called aura enable. Now cacheable equal to true, this annotation, sorry, this particular part you don't have to define every time. Whenever you are writing a where adapter, what is where adapter we will discuss later. But whenever you are writing a where adapter, and in the where adapter method, if you want to use this particular Apex method, then along with the aura enable, you have to mention this cacheable equal to true. Otherwise, you don't need this particular section, the particular line. Just you have to annotate, you have to write the annotations called @aura enable. If you don't write, then normally what will happen, this particular method, even you cannot call from the Lightning JavaScript controller. Okay, web component controller. Clear? Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So I'm just writing one class. This is a simple class. What is actually I'm doing? I have written a class name as contact controller, and here actually I just query on the contact object, and I'm just taking first name, last name, email from contact, and I am just doing one order by. So just this is a very simple query, and I have written in the return statement. Now remember one thing, whenever actually you are um, mentioning any class in the web component, and if you want to display something from the Apex class controller method, that means you are calling any Apex class from the LWC and you need some of the return, then always you may have to mention the return type. That means you cannot write here just like void. Otherwise, if you write void and if you just call this particular Apex class from the Lightning Web component, and if you want that whatever the query we got, sorry, whatever the result we got, we should be displayed in a Lightning Web component, then it is not possible, because you don't have mention any return type. You just mention it void. So as there is no return value, it will not display anything. So whenever you want that after doing some actions on operations, any kind of thing you should be returned to the LWC screen and it should be displayed, then always you have to mention the return type. So as I mentioned in this particular query, just whatever I have done, I just mentioned the return type. What is actually it is returning? It is returning the list of contact record, nothing but the list of contact. I just return. Okay. That's why I just mentioned as a try catch block. This is the standard Salesforce in as a, you can say Salesforce standard. Try in the in between try, I just done the query. You can write in this way, or also you if you want you can write in this way also. Just I mention a query here and I'm just returning this particular list. That also possible because the return type is a list of contacts. So I'm returning this list. That is also we can do. Or directly you can write something in a return statement in a query. Okay. Whatever it will be feasible for you to understand, you can write. Now what I have done, I just query some of the fields of the contact and then I am returning the list of those contact. Now in the LWC, how actually we can use this particular apex class or call this apex class. Now last day whatever we have discussed, that if we want to write any kind of LWC, this is the standard, automatically standard parameter. This is coming whenever you are creating something, that is it is importing the lightning element from the LWC library, it is automatically coming. Now if you want to use any kind of apex method here, how you have to write the code? You have to write the import statement there. That means you have to import this particular apex method. This is the syntax you have to follow every time whenever you want to use any kind of apex method, any apex controller method in any particular LWC. Import, and then any kind of name you can give. You can mention get contacts, same as the method name, or you can write anything, let's say get contact or get con, whatever you want, you can write the name. From where, at the rate Salesforce slash apex, and then you are mentioning the apex class name. This is the apex class name dot method. Clear? That means this particular annotations you always remember, at the rate Salesforce slash apex slash class name dot method name. Now in this way you can just actually import or call any kind of apex method in LWC. Any questions on this particular one?
Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
Why we need like for Apex import? We can use the JS. I mean the Apex code on JS file over there. We can use, right?
No, directly you cannot use here. You have to first import the method, then actually you can call this particular method from this particular section, JS part.
That means we are writing the code over here for the JS as a JS, correct?
That means
And suppose this contact list.js. This is a JS file, correct, sir? Another one is HTML. Another one is XLS.
forget about this. This one is a JS part. Yes, contact.
Correct, sir.
Yeah.
So I am writing entire thing with a JS coding, correct, sir?
Yes.
So in from Apex we are going to import. So why we need Apex? We can use
No, no,
while
you
we can
can, yes, absolutely. Whatever you have a questions that how, why we need Apex, we can write the, means we can,
enter code in JS.
yes, we can actually, there is a system, it's called different, means LDS, Lightning Design System. There actually you can get all the context details. But that is a separate scenario. I will discuss later. That also will be discussed in a separate class. Without the Apex, either you can display a list of contact, or sorry, list of records. You can edit and update also, edit and create a list of records. But if you want to use any kind of, because whatever it is not possible by JS, something you have a restriction to call you, and you need some server side actions. Okay. Now whenever you are need some server side actions, then you have to write some of the Apex controller class, right? Not controller, Apex class. Now if you want, if you write some Apex class, and if you want to call those Apex class in any LWC component, then how you can do? Now here actually I just fetch some of the get contacts, means list of contact. That doesn't means, that means, because we, for the demo purpose, I have just started with the very easy easy actually the scenario. But it doesn't means that it will be there like that way, that only for getting the context we don't need the Apex. No, that can be a different scenario where it will be a very complex design where you need some server side actions, and you have to return those server side results to LWC. Okay.
Got
So
it.
any kind of Apex class or Apex method, if you write, then how you can actually call that Apex class or Apex method? Those that's the discuss those scenarios. Actually, I am explaining here how you can
Okay.
call any kind of Apex class or Apex method.
Just as the import.
Just as the import means you have to import the method whatever you want to call from any LWC component. Okay,
Okay.
particular method you have to import.
Suppose I have wrote like I wrote a Apex coding, so I need to I need to that Apex coding from that Salesforce server to import throughout this what is a visual code. Correct.
This is a JavaScript controller. LWC screen. Yes, you have to import this particular method. That means if whenever you are importing this particular method, then you can use this particular method any of this particular inside the JS component. Okay.
Okay, that means I have saved some kind of Apex coding over there, and I am importing that coding from that part. Correct, sir.
Yes. Yes. It
Okay,
doesn't means that at the time of load it is automatically called. No, it's not like that.
okay.
Don't be confused that at the time of load automatically whatever the Apex methods you mentioned there, you have a 5, 6, 7, 8 method. At the
Hmm.
time of load automatically all the methods called and it will be cached. No, not like that. If you don't use this particular method any of this particular component, then automatically it will not be called. So you can see here it is coming a deep color. Now if I remove this particular one and see that color has been changed, that means it is not used anywhere in this particular LWC component.
Okay, that means I have to call up their name as their name, like get con.
Yeah, you have whatever the initialization you are doing in the name of the import you are doing means this is the initialized name. Like
Okay,
just you are initializing a variable in the Apex method. The same thing, the how you are initializing the particular method Apex controller, sorry, Apex method. Those
mhm.
method if it is not called or not used any of the LWC component, sorry, any of this LWC component, then it will be marked as that okay, this is not used, though you imported but it is not used. So there is no
Okay,
use of those.
okay, got it, sir, got it. Understood.
Yeah. Now, okay, just as I mentioned that you have to import and you can just initialize the name of this particular method, any of the name you can give. Normally we give the name as it is whatever the Apex method name we have, but you can also give whatever you want. There is no fixed rule or Salesforce standard rule that you cannot give any kind of random name here. Now, as I mentioned, how you have to call Salesforce slash Epic slash means Salesforce slash whatever you can see, it is actually calling a server side, actually server side component or server side value. Sorry, server side yes, values. So at the rate Salesforce mean it will call some of the server side component slash which component is calling Apex component is calling, and what is the Apex component or Apex class? This is the class dot method name. Clear?
So this is basically default browser, correct, sir?
Default.
Browser like at the rate Salesforce slash Epic slash contact. It is basically default browser. Like if I need to call there's a Apex classroom get contacts. Just like another one is like get details. Just an example. So
Yeah,
I will write.
you can write another method here. Let's say in the same component. Sorry,
Okay.
class you write another method. Okay. I just mention as filtered contact. And I just may here given uh let's see email. Not okay. So what I done, I have written a new method here. and then accordingly I am returning the contact list. Now I just mentioned that I have to mention this one as a aura enabled, otherwise I cannot use this particular method. Now what I'll do, I just deploy this component. Clear?
Hmm.
Now if I want to use this particular method or call this particular method, same thing I copy, filtered method I mentioned.
Filtered, correct.
Now I just mention this particular name method.
Okay. Well, sir, my question was that you have copied the entire, the like controller.get contacts and all. So my question was that Salesforce, the browser setup is same, like at the rate Salesforce slash apex slash contact controller dot field. Oh no, you have changed. Correct. I was talking about that one. Correct, sir. Got it, sir. Got it.
I change the field method name
Correct,
here.
sir. Correct.
Okay.
Got it. Got it.
Now if I just doing the same thing, let's say in the where method I will add this, I will use this particular one later.
You have to like filter
Yeah,
all.
I will display the this particular part, and then after that I will discuss this particular filtered one. So what will happen if I use this one? I will come later. Okay. Just I'm using the above one. That means where actually you will get all the contact list. And you can see that below one I have not used. That's why it is coming as a fake color. You can say fake means it's not deep in color. So now what I have done now, this is the things you have understood, that how you have to call any particular apex method in any from the LWC component. Okay. Now just remember, whenever any kind of method if you want to call, always you mark as aura enabled. If you don't mark as aura enabled, normally this but the any kind of method you cannot use in the LWC. Also, if you want to return something in the screen and if you want to display something, then always mention the return type. Without mentioning the return type, there is no meaning to call the LWC and then display something in the screen, because if you don't get the return, then what you can display? Correct. Now that's why always mention the return type. Now second thing, whatever I have done, just check. Now this is the particular schema we have called the Salesforce schema. Actually parameters we call, first of all we call the Salesforce epic. Now Salesforce schema is actually nothing but the configuration of Salesforce. That means how every object and every field has been stored in Salesforce, the object model, that is called the schema structure. Everyone I think have this idea, right? Schema, what is called schema? Or anyone don't having any idea? Means field, object, everything, how it is stored in the Salesforce, it's called the schema. That means you know that label, that is something called label, and also the API name. We normally, whenever we are writing any code, we just write the API name of the field or of the object to fetch any record. So this is actually all those particular things controlled in the schema of Salesforce. Okay. So I am just calling the Salesforce schema, and then whatever the field I am calling the contact object dot first name field. Okay. This is the standard for scenario, that without writing any kind of variable, I can use this particular format, that I can just standard field I can call direct in this way, but not any custom field I can call custom object field or custom um, field of a standard object I cannot call in this particular schema way. Okay. Just whatever I done, just I call the first name. I just call means I just assign the first name schema, means first name value in a first name field. This is the variable. Email also, this is the standard field I called. And then whatever I done, I just mention is a column means if I want to show any data table, any kind of list, Excel, or you can say in the Excel, how you are actually showing any data table, you have some of the header and then you have some value, right? In the header you are mentioning that which kind of value it is representing. So column means is nothing but the, this particular columns means one row. Sorry, one column means it will represent one particular Excel if you consider. So every column, the top portion is representing the header, and then upper and below that you are just representing the value, and then the second line, third line, fourth row, it's continuing. Okay. So here we are, I in the data table, the same like in the Excels, I'm mentioning that how means how many of the columns I should show and how the header will be represented. Okay. Now, how actually I have written this particular one? This is actually the standard format. If you just search with columns, you automatically, if you hover, they see automatically some of the values is coming. You can see here. First of all, in the column, you can mention that label, field name, and type. You can see this automatically, this particular options is showing you that how actually you can mention the different columns. Hello.
Yes.
So it is actually giving you the expressions that how you can mention the column in a particular data table. Data table meaning a table like structure. In a table, you have some header. How header is represented? It's representing the label. Label is actually containing the string. Field name. Field name. What is the field name? Field name is called any. Any means any kind of value you can assign in the field name. You can assign direct API name, or you can assign direct the variable, any kind of variable you can assign here. Type means what kind of type you can mention. It is actually string. That means either it can be a string like type, a string, sorry, the column can be a string type or can be email type. Email and string type, what is the difference between those two, I will explain later. Now, different three columns I mentioned. That means I want to see first name, last name, and email. As I queried on the Apex class, only these three value. I want to check this particular three value. So how I define the header? First, I define first header. I define as the first name. Now, in the first name field name, what the value it should represent? It should show. It should show the first name of the list. Sorry, the record. That means if you consider first row, in the first row, the first name of that particular first row, it will be shown in the field name and type will be a text. Now, if you consider the second row, means the second record, then the first name of the second record will be shown in the first column always. Okay. Same thing, the last name. I just mentioned that last name of any kind of particular record or row, it will be shown in the last name header column. And same like email header column, it will be shown the whatever the email field we have mentioned, that will be shown. Okay. Now
So
this
what's the purpose of the dot field API name?
field API name, this one is actually you are talking, right?
Yeah, dot field API name.
Yes. Now what is actually is mentioning? This is the variable you are actually fetching, right? First a name underscore field. Now it is actually fetching a schema. Now from the schema, what is the value it is taking? It is taking the means you whenever you are returning some of the records value, that means any list. Now in the list, how the data will be shown in the list? First, it will show like first name. First name means the API name and then value. API name value. In this way, actually, it is represented. That means if I just like a debug here, then it will show like first name colon the value, last name colon the value, email colon the value, something like that. Okay,
Okay.
got the point. Whatever the you are returning, whatever you are actually querying the value and you are returning, in this way, actually, it is showing in the particular list. Now from that particular list, I want to fetch the value from the from which field value I want to fetch. This is actually, that's why I mentioned field API name. Field API name means what is the field API name? First name. What is
Yes.
the field API name here? Last name. What is the field API name here? Email. Okay.
Okay.
Now if I just, this is actually how actually I construct the header part, and also the corresponding columns values will be displayed. Now if I go
So
to the
one more question, sir. Just left to the columns, const. What is the meaning of
constant,
that,
this
sir?
is actually constant. Constant mean we always we will means keep these particular columns. This is not the variable. Variable means constant. Variable means you, this is a variable, but all through means all over the particular iterations or all over the screen, it will be, these columns will be constant, it will not be changed anytime. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
this is
Okay.
actually one kind of variable. So like in Apex class you have some of the call public variable, private variable, something like that. Same like is a constant means is nothing but the type of the variable. It's a constant means all over the sorry, this LWC screen, this particular columns will be unchanged. Okay.
Okay.
Now if I just go to the HTML quickly, why I am going to the HTML? So previous day I just discussed about this particular lightning card, correct? That means in template in between the HTML, you just may whatever the particular design you want, you have to write the code in between the template tag, and in between template tag you can write the lightning card. This is the container, just I mentioned the last time, right? You can mention the title here, and some of the icons also you can mention, whatever the icon I just shown you, that how you can show the icon there and how you can display the icon. Now in the lightning card I just mention a lightning data table. Now what is lightning data table? It's nothing but the standard data table. That means by default lightning LWC design system providing you some of the out of the box functionalities. Out of the box is not like you are thinking about a drag and drop, but the design or the look and feel automatically it will be controlled. You don't have to write any kind of CSS or custom design for those. Lightning data table one of those actually where automatically some of the table like structure will be built. You have to just pass some of the parameters, and then the lightning design screen automatically will build a table for you. Now lightning data, in the lightning data table you can see what kind of attribute it can have. You have the some you have class, columns, data, and then any other fields, sorry, the this particular actions on cancel, on on load, on header action, everyone you have some of the actions also. Now important part is that what is the things actually you have to mention always if you want to display some of the data in lightning data table. First thing is the data part. Data means which kind of data you want to display, that is actually you have to mention, otherwise there is no meaning to use the data table. Like in a table you want to show some kind of data, so you have to mention the data, and you have to mention the columns. Column means which kind of columns or where the what is the columns you want to display. Now see here, I just mentioned data parameter and column parameters. Now what is the column parameters here I mentioned? In the JS controller, whatever the columns I just define, this is the columns I just defined. This particular columns I define outside of the lightning JS component. Okay, just you can see here, from here actually it is the lightning component, lightning element is actually we are writing, but we just define the columns outside of this particular lightning design, sorry, the JS controller. That's why with a variable I have again initialize those particular columns, not initialize, you can say assign those particular columns in a variables. Now you can you can ask that why we have not used these particular columns directly in this particular HTML. But as we have mentioned this particular columns outside of the lightning element sorry, lightning element part or JS controller part, That's why I have to assign this particular columns constant or variables another variable which is defined inside this particular lightning element, and that lightning variable I can use in HTML. Please ask questions if you don't understand this particular part, because any kind of variable whatever you mention in between this particular lightning web component JS controller part, this is the JS controller where actually it is starting. Export default class contact list extends lightning element. In between whatever the variables you define, those variables only you can actually call or mention in the HTML. If you mention anything outside of this particular uh, you can say lightning as a JS controller part, means outside means this is the import, whatever we are doing the import, it's outside of this particular export part, then normally directly we cannot call. So I think someone asks that why we cannot directly call this particular controller part, right? From the HTML or something like yeah, sorry, I think who asked these questions that directly we cannot ask call this apex class. Hello,
Shubhapan.
Yes, sir.
Shubham?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Audible.
So actually directly why we cannot call, because I just mentioned that in between this particular tag, that means in whatever the you are exporting, in between this particular tag, whatever the component or variables we are writing, that only we can mention here in the HTML.
Understanding.
Okay. Now, just as I mentioned that this particular constant I just means mm, done the this particular constant I just mentioned outside of this particular lighting element. That's why in between after that I just initialize another. I just mention another variable called columns. Now you don't be confused with this particular value, because you can write any kind of value here. You can write this way also. Okay, and then what you have to do, you have to use this particular one here.
Same name.
Okay, so whatever, this is actually a variable where you are assigning these constant columns. Means this the header part, and also how actually what the values it will show. Okay, now the second part whatever I done, that is called the get the data. Means we need the data, right? We done some of the query, but still the data has not been stored any of the particular component. Now what we have done, it's called the connected callback. Now what is called connected callback? Connected callback means whenever you are actually loading any LWC, whenever you are loading any LWC, that time whatever the method is called, one kind of method is called, okay, one kind of method, it's called the LWC method, JavaScript method, it's called connected callback. That means at the time of load of the data, sorry, the LWC component, automatically this method will be called. You don't have to define anything. Whenever you refresh the page, automatically this particular method will be called. It's called connected callback. Clear? This is the standard name. That means you cannot write anything blah 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 and then actually it will be called always. No, connected callback is actually the name of that method, when it will be always called at the time of the load of the LWC screen. Clear?
Sir, when I call the connected, when I write the connected callback,
Mm-hmm.
and when I need this connected callback, could you explain something?
Yes, I will explain. So when actually you need to call this connected callback, let's say at the time of the LWC screen, you want some of to display some of the values or some of the records in the screen. Okay, so you don't need any kind of button click or something. Whenever you are just opening any record, or whenever you, let's say you have a requirement that if you just open any contact record, then automatically what are the opportunities is related to the contact, it should be shown in this particular in a LWC screen. Okay, in the same page. Now you just open any contact record, means any kind of, you go to the Salesforce screen, in the Salesforce, you can just go to the any contact, and whenever you click on this particular contact, then the requirement is that, and the right hand side, any in a table like structure, you the whatever the opportunity is related to the contact, that should be shown. Now this is actually, that means at the time of the page loading, that means whenever you are opening any contact, that is actually the opening of the, means page loading, contact page loading, record page loading, that time automatically some action should fire. And what it will fire, it will fire some actions, it means it will fire some of the actions which will fetch the related opportunities, and it will display in a table. Clear?
Okay.
Now
Yes,
if
sir.
you have that kind of requirement, then those things you can do via connected callback. Now, if you write connected callback, any kind of LWC component, and if you added those LWC component in this particular record contact record page, so what will happen, whenever you opening any contact record, automatically the LWC and the connected callback will be called, and accordingly in between the connected callback you are calling the apex method. How actually I am calling the apex method, I am explaining later. Now via the apex method, you just fetching the all the related opportunities, correct?
Okay.
And you are displaying. So this is the use of the connected callback. At the time of load, if you want to do some of the display part, do some actions or do some of the loading or display some data, those things actually, for those actually you need the connect, means you can use the connected callback. The same thing you can do via where adapter. What is the where adapter, I will let you know later. Now there is some of that small difference between the where and the connected callback, and also there is some advantage of the connected callback, and also there is some disadvantage, both of them, because where also doing the same thing. Whatever I discuss about the connected callback, that means at the time of page loading, it's calling some method and it is actually displaying. Same thing you can do this particular where adapter. Okay, but in the where adapter, it will always actually, it's asynchronous means it's not doing the same sequence, it's taking the, means taking the actions when the server will be free. So what it will do, it will some at that first moment it will fetch the data and it will store in the cache. Now, in between, let's say in the contact record, if some of the new, let's whatever the requirement I just discussed, in between some of the new opportunity has been created, then that new opportunity will not be displayed on the list if you call the list via where method, where adapter. But it will always show the updated one from the connected callback whenever you are loading this one, because as it is not storing the data in a cache, always it is refreshing the cache and it is actually fetching the current data. Okay,
Okay, sir. Sir,
now
if I showing the home page, so this time need the connected callback. It's working now only for when I showing the record page. This time
no,
need.
there is no specific rule that you cannot use the connected callback in home page. I just explained some of the requirement to you.
Okay, okay.
Now if you have any requirement that you always show some of the related tasks of any particular user in the home page. Now in
Okay.
the standard way also you can do, you can write a LWC screen also. And
Okay,
in
okay.
the connect,
When I call,
and then when user logs in, automatically then it will be displayed the home page by default, right? First time.
yes, sir.
And that time you can call the connected callback and you can fetch all the related task, open task of that particular user, and you can display in a table like structure or how whatever it will be means it will mention in same like way you can display those, right?
Yeah.
It's not like just for giving you example that where actually you should use the connected callback. I just give you a small example for that.
Okay. Okay, sir. Okay, this through we are fetch the data from Apex, right, sir? Connected callback.
No, connected callback is actually a LWC method. In between LWC method, you can call Apex, you can do any other actions also. Connected callback means a LWC method by it's actually uh, you can say inbuilt method, you can say. That
Okay.
means not custom method, inbuilt method,
Okay.
which always will be called whenever you are initializing the LWC screen. Initializing the LWC screen means loading the LWC screen.
Okay.
Either you are refreshing the page or you are opening something and then that particular LWC screen automatically got refreshed. That means in the record page, whenever you are opening any contact record, automatically the LWC screen will be refreshed, right?
Okay.
Or
Uh,
in the same contact record, if you just click on the refresh button, then also it will be refreshed.
yes. Okay. Yes, sir.
So that
Okay.
time,
Okay. It's actually
if you want to do any actions, that is actually you can do via connected callback method. It's a LWC method. Okay.
okay, sir.
Sir, can I say this as a JavaScript method?
Yes, you can
Uh,
say JavaScript method. LWC I am mentioning because as we are writing the LWC, that's why it's a JavaScript method, connected
okay,
callback.
okay,
Okay.
okay,
LWC JavaScript method you can say. So it's a
okay.
JavaScript method, and that's why whenever you are writing connected callback, the name it should be written connected, not like you just mention connect callback. No, it will not work. The name should be proper written. So that because it is actually the inbuilt method. So automatically the system will understand. Okay, this method always should be called whenever you are loading the Apex. LWC. Loading means refreshing the LWC. Okay, the system can understand automatically. Clear?
Okay. It's basically
Yes.
used to refresh the page and loading.
No, no, not refresh the page. Again, you confused. Refresh page is not means like that. At the time of loading the page, if you want to do some actions, then you can use this particular method. In between this particular method, you can write whatever the actions if you want to do. Okay.
Okay.
This method, if you write connected callback, if you write connected callback, let's forget this particular part. Just forget this particular part. If you write connected callback, that means this particular method always will be called whenever any LWC LWC page got refreshed. Refresh not reloaded, not refresh. I can say reloaded.
Okay.
Okay.
Reloading.
Okay.
Okay.
Whenever you are loading any LW, loading means just you are opening any page, you are going any kind of LWC screen or refreshing. Every time it's reloading, right? It's loading. Whenever you
Yes,
are
sir.
loading any LWC screen or LWC page, automatically this method will be called.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, sir. I understand.
That is the method. Now there is another kind of method you can write that will be called any kind of doing some actions like last day when I just given you the example like the demo LWCJS, right? Here I have written one called handler event, right? Change handler event I have just mentioned there. If you can remember last day when I given you the on change event I
Yes,
just
sir.
mentioned, right? This
Yes.
is
Yeah.
actually at the time of load, this will not call. This is you can see what actually in this particular one is called change handler. This is a custom one and it's actually fired based on some event. Event means either you are doing some of the actions that time the event is firing. Now what kind of event you are firing? On change. That means upon changing on the some value, it's firing this particular event. And whenever this event got fired, then this method is called.
Okay.
not at the time of refresh of this particular page, LWC demo, this particular LWC screen. So at the time of refresh, it is not called. When it is called when you are actually doing some action. You are changing something. On change, it's calling this particular method. Got it?
Okay, sir. Clear, sir.
Yeah. Now this particular method, it is not depend on any kind of event or something. Whenever you are reloading or loading any LWC screen, automatically the
It's
connected call.
automatically call. Okay, okay, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Between connected callback, what I am doing in our particular demo, for our demo, what I am doing, I am just calling one particular apex method which I already imported. Just a minute. Sorry. So what actually, yeah, so in between this connected callback, I am calling one apex method, which apex method I just already imported this apex method. And also I have initial given some of the local variable name there, imported with a get contact name. Okay, just I am calling that particular apex method. You can see this apex method, how actually I called. I just call the apex method and then first bracket on and first bracket closed. Okay, in this way actually I just call the apex method. Okay, and now here you can see I have not passed any kind of parameters. Whenever you are actually hovering here, it is showing you that if you want to mention any kind of parameters, you can mention. Just it's showing you. Parameter means if you want to send any kind of value from the page to the apex class. Now here, whatever the method I written, I am not passing any parameters, right? I am not passing any parameters from in this particular method. I just calling the method and it is returning some of the values, list of contact. So simple way, I'm just consider this particular one. I just call the apex method, and whenever I call the apex method, it is returning some of the result. Now this is the syntax. Whenever you are calling any apex method, always you should write the code in this particular format. First is dot then. That means if you are calling the apex method, then it is returning the success value in this dot then parameters. And if there is any error, then it will return the error in the dot catch. Okay. It is returning the result in dot then. If there is any internal error, internal means any apex exceptions or something, it will return this
So,
exception in the dot catch. Yeah.
so is it likely to the try catch block?
It's actually exactly like try catch block. In the apex, whatever we are writing in the try catch, same structure here actually is doing the same thing. Now the syntax is different, little bit different, because as it is written in the JavaScript language, that's why. Dot then is nothing but the try, where actually you are getting the success values. Okay, and dot catch is nothing but the errors, the exceptions, whatever you are getting. Okay, now dot then and then result means whatever actually you can see, those things you have to just mention always. You cannot do anything, you cannot remove anything. That means equal to and greater than sign, whatever you can see, everything you have to mention. This is actually nothing but the arrow sign it's mentioning. Dot then and then result means it's returning whatever the success value or whatever the return value you are getting from this particular apex method. This is stored in this result. Okay, this will always be marked as result. It is actually called result always. That means you cannot write any kind of random name here. No, just mention as result, always. Okay, that means whatever the success value you get, you just stored in a result variable. Variable is not, it's actually the in between the then where the then method, means try method, you can actually you can say. So in whatever the value you are getting, you are stored in the result, and this result I am just storing in a local variable here. Actually just I mentioned context. Whatever the result I got, I'm just storing in a local variable. Why I mention in a, I means I stored in a local variable. Otherwise, if I don't store, I cannot use this particular one in the data table. Any questions on this particular one? Any
So what
question?
is the meaning of that arrow? I have not faced that type of arrow in Apex class.
No, it's not Apex language. It's a language syntax. It's a JavaScript syntax, means if you get any kind of, you can see either you can get result or error, right? Now, if you get
Yeah.
result, then what you will do? If you get error, then what you will do? That is actually it is defined.
So I think, sir, this is default syntax.
Yeah, this is default syntax. That's why I mentioned that
Okay.
whatever the syntax you can see, you always have to copy. Even if you cannot
Okay.
rename something like random value here. Dot then, dot catch, this format always. Even if you just forgot to mention this dot, it will give error. Okay. So dot then and then result. And if you get result, then what with the result, what you will do? Here actually what I am doing, I just storing this particular result in a variable. Okay. Another variable I define called errors. This is nothing but a second variable. And I just mentioned that errors undefined. For the try block or the success block, normally errors will be not, there will be no errors, right? That's why I mentioned call errors as undefined. Though if you want to not write this particular one, you don't have to write this one, not required. But normally this is the best case scenario, that whenever you are mentioning try catch, if you are actually display, means you are handling the exceptions, then in the success also you just mention that okay, there is no error. That means the errors variables whatever you defined previously, it should be marked as unidentified, sorry, unidentified, sorry, undefined. That means there is no error, as I got the result. Okay, any questions or any doubt on this particular one?
No, sir.
Now if I going to the error part, that means any kind of exceptions I got, then I am storing that particular in a error variable. And there, this dot context means these variables I am making as undefined. That means I will not display the table because there is a error I got. That's why there is no data on the context table, sorry, contact list. So then I will not display the table. Then it is clear this particular try catch block. Same like whatever we are doing in the Apex. Whenever we are actually getting some of the value, then we are returning, and whenever we are getting the exceptions, we are not returning anything, right? The same thing actually I done here. Here actually return value null, that means I am not displaying anything. Here actually return value is there, result is there. That's why I am storing these results in this particular variable, and error is actually marked as undefined because I got the success. Clear particular part?
Yes, sir.
Now if
So
I go,
error and result both I have to write in both the blocks.
yes, this is the best practice you should follow. Normally, whenever you get result, that means there is no error. So you just mention the errors as undefined. But in same thing, it will be opposite in the catch block.
Okay.
Okay, now what I am done, I just mention, see here, I have done a conditional view. Just I mentioned the lightning data table first, but now see in between the template and lightning card, I made a conditional view. Conditional means if conditions I have given. That means, see here, whatever the template and then if colon true contacts. What is meaning by? That means if this context is not blank, that means if it is having some value, then it will display this lightning data table. If it is getting some of the error means if it is going the exception part, then actually normally this context we are I am actually initializing the context as undefined. That means it's a blank, right? Undefined means blank. So that in that case, this lightning data table will not be displayed. This is called the conditional view. So in between templates, see, remember this particular conditional view you cannot write here. You have to write one template tag first, and in between template tag you can write different conditional view, means different template conditional view you can write. That means another template tag I mentioned, and that template I just conditionally displaying, or template section you can say, not tag, template section. Any doubt?
Sir, what
Yes.
is the uses of lightning card?
Lightning card is nothing but a container. Lightning card, what is actually it's displaying? Let me go to the home page, then you can understand. This is the contact list. Whatever the header, you can see an icon, and here you can see one white box. In between white box, you can see this particular list has been displayed. This container, white container, is actually nothing but the lightning card. Okay.
Okay, sir.
You can see this lightning card, and I am given the title as contact list, and also I have mentioned one icon. So this lightning card is nothing but a container, and in between the container I am just writing my table, or writing my other view components or HTML components. Okay.
So
And
from where did you get the icon name?
oh, icon name I discussed in the last session. I think if you just go through the last session, I think you can understand. It is
Okay.
actually the Salesforce standard icons. So you don't have to write any code for that. Uh, yes, this is the lightning design system and icons. Automatically, you will get some of the icons here. And in our last sessions, I just discussed that how you can call any kind of icon. So here you can see I just call the standard icon. What is the standard icons? This is the standard icon. And then what actually I called? I called this particular name. What is this particular name is consisting? This one.
Okay.
So this is actually under the standard icon. Now if I want to use this particular any other icon, let's say I want to use the custom icon. How I can actually I can call, first I have to mention from which part I have to call the icon, means which category. I just call the custom. Okay. And which icon I want to use, let's say I want to use this particular custom 15. Now if I just mention custom 15 here, so that means category I just mention, and then I just mention the icon name, icon number. This is the standard thing. You don't have to deploy or something, store any static resource or something like that. Now if you just do the same thing, then automatically see, if you just refresh the page, automatically the icon will be changed. If I just refresh the page, automatically see the icon will be changed. See, the icon has been changed. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, so in the lightning card container, I just conditionally viewing this lightning data table. Now this is not in, this is nothing, this is not a container. Don't be confused that this also will add some of the separations or some of the sections in the page. This is nothing but any container. This is nothing but the view, means it's actually controlling the view. It's conditional view, it is controlling by this particular tag. That means if we have the value in context, then only I am displaying the lightning data table. If not, then I am not displaying. Okay. If I just remove this particular means conditional view, what will happen? Any kind of part, it will display the table, but means display table means display the header. It will display the header, but if there is no value, then the value will not come. I can show you how it will show. Okay, let me first understand that how actually, what actually in the lightning data table we displayed. We displayed the column, we displayed the data. Which data we are displaying? Whatever the data from the query we got, that data we are displaying here. So you can see in the lightning table, first name, last name, email, everything is coming, and the value also coming. As I mentioned last time, that this particular one.
I have a small question, sir.
Yeah,
Sir, what is the purpose of that undefined over there? Like,
I'm just explaining. You can understand what is actually undefined. Undefined is nothing but the blank. Okay. Now type is, I mentioned type of the email as called email. Why? If I mention the type as email, then you can see it is coming that if we click, automatically it will be redirecting you to the email page, and also the email icon automatically is coming. Now if I just mention the type as text, what will happen? It will just display you normal text. Any kind of icon or something, it will not come, or hyperlink. Understood there why actually I mentioned the type as email?
Yes, sir.
got it, sir.
Okay, just mentioning the same, first name, last name, email, label, whatever I can give it, automatically accordingly it will be updated. Every time whenever I am changing, I'm just deploying. Just mention that automatically the whatever the changes you are doing, it will not be reflected on the screen. You have to deploy, otherwise you cannot get the latest values. Okay. Now as someone asks that what is meaning by the undefined? Undefined means nothing but the blank. That means you are not assigning anything. Okay. So what I have done in the result, even I am getting the success, then also I'm just in this particular list, I'm mentioning as undefined. That means I'm not mentioning any value. Then what will happen? See, it is not showing any value. It's blank. Undefined means blank. It's not defined. That means you are not getting any value. Clear? Now, why this header is coming? Header is coming because I stopped this particular conditional view. I mentioned that always the lightning data table will be shown, right? That's why the header is coming, but there is no value. But if I just make as it is, whatever it was previously, that means if I just mention as a conditional, that means if it is blank, then I should not show the lightning data table. Even I should not show the columns as well. Then what will happen? See, only the icon will come, and any kind of column header will not also come. Understood why actually we mention this particular conditional view here, and what will, if we remove, what will happen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So Yeah.
Can you explain again?
Okay. So in the HTML, we mention as a conditional view here. Conditional view means we mention if we have some of the value in context. That means context is actually nothing but a variable here. This variable having some value, then you should display this particular lightning data table. Otherwise not. That's why it is giving as if true. If true means if context having value, and that means true. True means if context having value and not blank, then you should display the lightning data table. Otherwise, you should not display anything. Now, if I just remove this particular oh, conditional view, so what will happen? Even if you are having the blank, that means anything is not there in the contact list, then also it will show the data table with only the header. Clear?
Hmm.
There is nothing in this particular list because I mention as undefined. Undefined means by default I mention undefined means it's blank, always blank. So that means even it is blank, then also it is showing the data table with the only the header. There is no value or no row, you can say. But if I just open this particular conditional view and data, or you can say I just remove this particular one, that means if we have any value, then only we will show the data table. So what will happen? This particular header also will be, or full data table will be hidden from the page. Okay, that means if there is no value, then we should not display the data table. That is the conditional view. That is the advantage of using the conditional view. Okay, just I am reverting back whatever I have done previously. I just mentioned here result. So I think it's someone is asked what is mean by undefined. I think that is also clear, right?
Yes,
Sir,
sir.
if I don't give the undefined part in the then or try block, the error part, what will happen? What is the problem? Sir?
By default, it is actually giving. It can give error, but normally we should mention. Normally, it is always blank. Whenever you are initializing any variable, always it is blank. So you are mentioning like if I just mention this way, right? This is your question,
Uh,
correct?
In the
Then
then
also,
block, then I should omit the error undefined.
yeah, you can mean
It is
you have done nothing in the den block. It will not show any error, but this is the best practice as I mentioned. Because if you are initializing the variable by default, it is blank. But whenever actually you are iterating through the variables, because why we are to why it is should be mentioned everywhere. Why I am telling you. Let's say you have a separate methods in this particular LWC, okay, and same variable you are using everywhere. Now, in some of the cases, you have some errors, but in other method, if you don't mention this particular errors as undefined, what will happen? It will store the previous method errors and it will display.
okay.
Got my point? Means if you
Okay, okay.
anytime, let's say you have another method here, 5, 6 methods, and in one of the methods you got some error, and you mention this, you initialize this way, and another method where actually you are getting the value success value but not error, and if you just not mention this particular errors as undefined, what will happen? That time this error will be navigated because
Okay.
this is already stored in other methods as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now as I mentioned, I just I just use this particular call this particular method, which actually nothing but displaying a list of contact. Now if I do some of the filter conditions here, and if I want to use this particular method filtered contacts, which already I imported, instead of get contact, I can call this method, correct? Now I'm just deploying, or I can call this particular method as well. Sorry, this particular in not in this way. Let me do this way. This will be there, but I can call also. Let me do this way. This context. Now I'm just mentioning another variable called filtered. This one I am just now what we'll do, I just instead of I just call instead of get con, I just call this particular method. Okay, and then I just assign the variable here. This particular one clear to everyone? Just let me know why what I have
Yes.
done. I
Yes,
just
sir.
imported another method. I just call that particular method. Whatever the result I got, same thing result I am getting. I just assign in a new variable. Okay, and that new variable I just display in a different lightning data table. Okay, clear?
Yes.
Now if I just display deploy these things, and I don't know if I have any contact with the same email address, let me update any one contact. Let's say if I just update this particular contact email address, otherwise I will not get any value. What I mention here,
deep@gmail.com.
yes, this one. Just I am updating so that it should fetch this particular record only. Okay, now what will happen if I just refresh this particular page?
Two data table will be shown.
It will show the first data table, and in below it will show a second data table. Now it will actually overlapping. That's why what I'll do, I just create another lightning card here, because otherwise you cannot understand. It's just overlapping, right? So in this lightning card I am just ending here, and in this lightning card, sorry, yes, I'm just starting here, and I'm oh, it's already there. Hmm. And just I'm changing the icon. Let's say I'm just changing this one. So it will show you two containers side by side. This is the first container. Oh, somehow it's overwritten. That why I got surprised why it is showing. So this is the first container which is showing all the contacts, and this is the second container which is showing the filtered contact. Okay.
Yes.
Clear that how you can call a apex method in a particular LWC, and how what is the call connected callback. That means how you can use this particular apex method or use the data of that particular apex method, and what is called the connected callback. This is clear. And also I just explain what is called the lightning data table. I will explain this lightning data table later in more details. It's nothing but a table like structure, and it is just displaying some of the val data and also the column means in a table always you have to mention the columns, and we are mentioning which columns we should display, and that columns API name we are actually, sorry, the schema we are just fetching, and then that we are displaying those. And whatever the apex methods you are calling, you just have to mention annotation called aura enable always, otherwise you cannot call any apex method. So today we discussed to call any apex method, but if you want to call any apex method, we after sending a parameter, then how you can do that also I will explain in our next class. Any questions in this particular one?
Hello.
So schema means total org configuration.
Yes, schema means the backend data object structure, whatever object and field actually stored in Salesforce, that's called schema. Hello.
Hello.
Mhm.
So in the HTML page, you go to the HTML page. Sir, here I have seen the key field ID. This ID is the contact record ID.
Yes, this is key field ID. I have not explained because whenever I will explain writing readable later, then I will explain. But why I mention the key field ID? ID means by default it will take the key value of those record is called the ID of that particular whatever the data you are returning here. You are returning any kind of data, right? And every data have some ID. So whatever the data you are storing, you are mentioning here on that particular ID of that particular record, it is actually the key. Will be it will be considered as the key. Now, if you are returning the contact list, then it will consider the contact ID as the key. If you are returning the account list, it will be considered the account ID as the key. That means the record ID will be considered as the key. Any kind of record.
Actually, this is a record ID for the particular rows.
Yes, particular row. Every row have a key value. How actually, because why we are mentioning the key value here, because in the lightning data table normally you can have some operations called, you can select one value, multiple value. Now whatever the selections you are doing, if you want to take those selected values in the next page, how you can do that particular record is control, you can fetch via this particular key parameters, because we are storing the value, we are storing the uh, row key as a ID, means it is the key of this particular every row. Now how actually we are storing the row means we are actually keeping the key of that particular row, it's ID of that particular record. So that's why you can actually in the next iterations you can easily face that particular record, or you can do any kind of second option, sorry, second operations on that particular record. I will
Yeah,
explain
actually,
this
you
particular
write.
yeah.
Okay. Tilted. Actually, if true, where should I write the else portion actually?
You can write if true, else is not required to write every time. If true means you are displaying, conditionally displaying this one, and you can write something like this way. Let's say if true and if false.
Okay.
That means this is the as you mentioned, this is the try and this is the catch, same like that. If it is true, then it will display this particular section. If it is false, then it will display this particular sections. But always if you are right, if you have to write if and then else condition, there is not like if else in Apex method. You have to mention here just to display something like if any if you can remember in Apex class also, whenever you are writing any if statement, that doesn't mean that every time you have to mention any else statement. Based on the requirement, you can mention the else statement, otherwise not required. Only if statement is enough, because if we are actually giving some condition, checking some conditions, right, in if, and those condition is satisfied, then after that, if our work is done and not required the else conditions, that means if this condition not satisfied, then what should be done? If that is not the requirement, then you don't have to mention the else conditions. Same in Apex class also. That means anytime if you writing the if, that doesn't mean that every time you have to write the else.
Actually, in this sequence, in the false part, if data not if there is no any data, then the false part will execute. We can give a
Absolutely,
message over there.
absolutely, absolutely. If I just open means just you open this particular one,
Uh,
false
if
means if there is blank, then it will be executed. Whatever you have written, let's say you want to display some of the record, sorry, message,
message
no
record
record
found.
found. Okay, and
You
then
deploy it and sir, you deploy it and you change your mail ID again. Then this message will
yes,
show.
yes, absolutely. Just let me. I can show you what will show. This is the mail ID. I just add one conditions here because I just hard coded at with this particular deep@gmail.com. Now what will show you? This is displaying the list, but see what is happening. Lightning data table, template if false, filter contact list. That is not doing anything. If false, let me, there is some template lightning card, contacts, contact list, lightning card, template if false. Mm, controller, exception return null. There is no value, so it is returning null. Then result, it is returning null. Okay, that's why. Result, I'm assigning this one, and it is the filter conditions. Mention filter contact list. If this is contact, this contact is result. Any return all return contact is returning contact is blank. Okay, it's actually returning the blank value and it's assigning the blank here. But if it is assigning the blank here, then why this particular data table is showing there? Let me check. That means if I mention this, it is actually undefined, then what will happen? Undefined means it's calling as blank, but whenever actually I am just returning something, it's returning blank, it's not making is undefined. That's why always it is showing the data table. That means it's not marked as undefined. But now if I just forcefully mark as undefined, then what is happening? It will show you that okay, this is marked as undefined, that's why it's calling as no record found. So the conditions here we make, if result, that means if the value is there, then you just assign the value, otherwise make it blank. Okay, so in the then conditions I make a conditional assignment. That means if the value is there, then actually you assign the value, otherwise not. Let me deploy this particular one. Let me check what is actually showing. Even if it is returning the blank or null value, it should not return, sorry, it should not assign, because this is not exception. It's doing the query, but it's not getting any value, so not getting any exception, so it is not going in this catch part. Now I'm just refreshing. But it's still showing. So what will happen? Automatically it is going there. Now if the result is there, let's see, else, here I am writing some else conditions. Else
Both are undefined.
undefined. Yes. Check what is actually showing. No, still it's showing the value. So it's always is actually going there. Even it is actually blank, it's not returning anything. So better returning contact list, directly returning contact list. That means we have to check if in the Apex class, we have to check if contact list is not blank,
Not empty.
is empty. Then return this one. Else, here you have to mention if and else. Why? Because if contact list is empty, then you return, sorry, contact list is not empty, then you return something. Then also after, if contact list is empty, then also you have to return something. Otherwise, as you mentioned the return type, you cannot save this particular record. So if it is empty, then what I will return? I will return null. I will not return anything. Okay. Now, if I am returning null, that means it should come this particular result as null. That means it should not go here. Let me check. See,
Come.
always it is returning some of the blank value. Now, when I condition made in this particular Apex class that if the list is not empty, then return the list, otherwise return null.
Hmm.
And then I made the same conditions here. If the list is means the return get means whatever the return value we got, if that is not null, then assign in this particular variable. Otherwise, make this particular variable as undefined. And if I make this condition
In the
conditions like,
JavaScript, if the condition portion is not required, I hope.
sorry,
In the JavaScript, the condition portion if or else not required.
it's not required, but you can mention. Otherwise, sometimes just in this scenario, you have checked that it is returning the value. Even it is if you don't mention this particular one, then what will happen? The null value will be returned. Sorry, assigned here, because in this scenario, always it will be null, right? Result will be null. So null value will be returned, and then sometimes in the screen you can get error. As we are doing the null checking in the Apex class, same checking we should do in the JavaScript also. That if it is null, then we should not assign. Otherwise, we should assign. Same thing. We should to avoid some of the errors in the screen.
Okay, understood.
Okay. So just I am stopping the sharing and